Rarin. I gotta say, buddy, it's been a good run. It's been a pleasure having you, but this is the end. You're not gonna come back after this. I can guarantee it.
What? Are you putting me in the shower at all? What does that mean?
Honestly, yes, because when you see what I'm going to be showing you today, this is going to be probably the last video we ever do together. And the time is here. Everyone's been waiting for this video. I've been holding off as long as possible. We are going to show you what is arguably the biggest mistake in Yu-Gi-Oh! And that is one of the most controversial summoning mechanics in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And that is pendulum summoning. Are you familiar with pendulum summoning?
Okay, like, I think I played against it a couple times last year. Is it like where it does it on your turn? Is that what I'm thinking about? Or is that not?
Most summoning is on your turn, yes. Okay. So that does not describe anything. Would you like to try again?
No, they summon on my turn, not like I'm summoning on my turn.
No, that's just Yu-Gi-Oh! No, that's just Yu-Gi-Oh! Sorry to tell you, that's just Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, I couldn't tell you a fucking single thing about it.
We're going to have to work a lot here, I will let you know. So I am going to first show you what you should be familiar with, which is the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game board. You got this blown up for me?
Yeah, what's happening here?
So the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game board, as you can see, there are two brightly colored zones in the bottom left and bottom right. One is blue in the bottom left and one is red in the bottom right. Do you see those?
Yes I do.
Okay, so these are two of your spell and trap zones, but they also function as what are called pendulum zones. You still with me?
Yes.
All right. Pendulum zones are for specific monsters known as pendulum monsters. This is a mechanic they introduced about a decade ago now. I think it was 2014, 2015. I'm going to show you what is known as a pendulum monster, and we're going to start very simple with this guy right here. Give him a read.
Okay. Flash Knight. Okay, so do I say 7/7 pendulum? 7 blue, 7 red?
So those are called scales. So he has a pendulum scale of 7, and we'll get into that momentarily.
Okay, he has 1800 attack and 600 defense. He's also 4 stars.
So, as you can see, this looks a lot different than a typical Yu-Gi-Oh! Card. Pendulum monsters are half monster, half spell card. You still with me?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so you can either play this monster, this Flash Knight, as a monster, as you normally would. It's 4 stars. You can normal summon it. It can attack, all that. Or you can play it in one of those left or right pendulum scales as a pendulum scale. What this means is that when you have 2 of them, and I'm going to show you a second one here, so that way we can complete the pendulum scale, as they say. So give this guy a read.
Foucault's Cannon? That sounds...
It's actually Fucko's Cannon.
Is it actually...
No, I just made that
up. Listen, I was gonna believe you. 5 stars, so it needs to be special summoned. You're gonna have to explain whether or not if it's summoned as a pendulum, if it needs to be special summoned, but whatever.
I'll get into it.
2/2 during the end phase. If this card was activated this turn, you could target 1 face-up trap spell/trap card on the field and destroy it. It's also okay. So I'm just gonna guess here. So like, if it has like an effect, it would only do the effect if you summon it as like a pendulum.
Sort of. So with Fucko's Cannon here, the effect that you just read, the during the end phase, if it was activated this turn, you can target a face-up spell or trap and destroy it. When the effect is in between the pendulum scales there, that is what is known as its pendulum effect. So when you scale it in either the left or right zone, that is which effect is being applied. This card, Fucko's Cannon, this is a normal monster, so it doesn't actually have an effect. So if it did have an effect, if it was in the monster zone, like being treated like a normal summon, whatever, then that would be what is applying, okay? So this is where it's sort of half monster, half spell. Are you still with me?
Okay, hold on. So if I normal summon it as a monster, it does not do like the during the end phase thing?
Correct.
Okay,
so now let's talk about the pendulum scales. So we have Fucko's Cannon, which is a 2 pendulum scale, and go back to Flash Knight, which is a 7 scale. So you would put both of these cards, one on the left, one on the right. It doesn't have to be like the lower on the left, the higher on the right. You can put them whatever way you want, but they have to be in those 2 specific scales, okay? When those scales are completed, you can perform what is known as a pendulum summon. A pendulum summon is a type of special summon where when you look at the scales, where in this case, the cannon has a 2 and Flash Knight is a 7, you can special summon any number of monsters from your hand or extra deck, we'll get into that momentarily, that are levels in between the scales. So right now, you can pendulum summon any number of monsters that are level 3, 4, 5, or 6. So if you have 5 monsters in your hand that are level 3 through 6, you can summon all of them to the field immediately.
Okay. Okay.
You with us?
I think so. Okay. Yeah. Oh my God.
Now, where this gets slightly tricky
okay, it wasn't already. All right.
is when pendulum monsters are destroyed, they don't go to the graveyard. They go to your extra deck face up. The reason for this is because not only can you pendulum summon monsters from your hand, you can also pendulum summon the monsters from your extra deck into the extra monster zone. So since there's one extra monster zone per player, if let's say Flash Knight was in the extra monster zone, you can pendulum summon a bunch of guys out of your hand and one of them from the extra monster zone out from your extra deck into that zone.
Okay. 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 I'm just trying to like when they released this like physically, did it come with like a 300-page booklet like to make sure
Nope.
that people
Nope. I will say they did release a set of starter decks around this time because this mechanic corresponded with a new season of the anime. Typically, each new season of the anime introduced one of these summoning mechanics. So Synchro, Xyz, etc. And so this one was another one of those. So the starter decks did have in the rule book explaining all of this. Just from what I've described to you, a lot of people did not like this because this, as like your brain is probably already rotting trying to like wrap your head around this. This is just like so far removed from Yu-Gi-Oh! And there are so many things just like that people hated about this mechanic. And as we go into some of the cards, you're going to understand why. That it was very controversial, and a lot of people actually quit around this time because there's a running joke in the community that pendulums are a mistake, and that still holds very true today because of just how absolutely broken and absurd this mechanic was. This was like a level of power creep that was like just completely unknown prior to this existing in the game.
Okay. Do they still make this mechanic, or is it like
They do.
Okay. Okay.
There's another element to this that I will not get into to overcomplicate it because of the fact there's another type of monster you've not seen yet. So for those wondering, I'm talking about Link monsters. We're not going to get into that. That'll come up like in a future video. But your goal, now that you understand pendulum summoning, I'm going to show you some of these cards, and you have to figure out if any of these cards ever served time on the ban list. Are you ready?
Okay, I think so. Okay. Oh God, it's funny because last video I did so well. I was like, "This, I get you, you."
I'm sure you'll do fine. I'm sure you'll do fine.
Then you drop this on.
We're gonna start it off easy. We're gonna start it off easy for you.
Oh, okay. Archfiend Eccentric, 3 stars. Okay, so can you just like walk through how I'm supposed to read the card properly? Like, am I supposed to go like Pendulum 7? You could target one other spell/trap card on the field.
So you could read like the pendulum effect is, and then read this, and then its monster effect is in the bigger box. You could do that. That's
okay.
fine.
And I'm assuming for all these cards I should read, but yeah, this one actually has an effect. Okay.
You should read both to help you. If there's text that's irrelevant, I will let you know so you don't have to read as much. To be nice.
Okay. Holy fuck. This is an absolute clusterfuck of information.
Oh, people have been waiting for this. People want CGB to do this one too, so you have to do better than him.
CGB's like lost in the sauce still, bro. Don't do this to him. I watched like some of the videos and he legitimately is still cursed on this game. Thankfully, Stevie gave me like a bunch of like preemptive information before I went in with you. Pendulum effect. You could target one other spell/trap card on the field. Destroy both it and this card. You can only use this effect once per turn. Or the monster effect is you contribute this card, then target one monster on the field, destroy it. You can only use this one. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. You contribute this and then target one monster. So this is like the monster effect is just removal. You're actually completely right. Okay, you can target one other spell. Oh my God, hold on. You can target. So one of them is for a monster, and the other one is for the spells.
Correct.
Okay. I mean, this card looks good. I mean, like, I gotta like remember the entire thing here. So, because it's Pendulum 7, in this card in a vacuum, the other like to summon other cards, it doesn't really matter. Like I'm probably basing this card off whether or not like in itself it is good, because I don't think it really needs to combo with anything else to be good. This card, correct. This card just seems like, am I okay with having a versatile card that could deal with a spell or a minion card?
Recurring versatile.
What do you mean by that?
So, if you recall, when these monsters are destroyed while they're monsters, they go to the extra deck. they can be pendulum summoned back out again, assuming the scales are correct, of course, which means, hypothetically, Eccentric can pop something, you pendulum summon it back out, and it could pop something else. Next turn, pendulum summon it back out again, it pops something else, so on, so on.
Okay, so can you hold on, run back the scaling here just for 1 second? So what actually alters the scale here? Is it the numbers next to the red and blue? It's not the
correct.
Okay,
it's the scale. So in this case, Eccentric is a scale 7. So as long as you had anything lower than a 3 as your other scale, because it has to be in between. So go back to Fucko's Cannon, right? Fucko's Cannon was a 2. So between 2 and 7, you could pendulum summon out this Eccentric, and then you go from there.
Okay, so the pendulum, you could pendulum summon this because the star is 3, because it would be between 2 and 7. Am I understanding this correctly?
Correct.
Okay,
correct.
okay.
In that instance, yes.
Okay. Okay. So I mean, this card's good. It's like guaranteed removal, I think, every single turn, as long as your opponent doesn't have a way to banish this. So like, probably great. You wanted to see if this was banned or not. Would I be okay with like a reoccurring dealing with one of my cards every single turn? Probably not. Could you pendulum summon on your opponent's turn? You can.
No.
Well, that's probably for the best.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I'll go with banned. Like, that seems pretty good. Like in Hearthstone, I'd probably play that if I had like a reoccurring like removal every single turn. That seems great. So sure. Yeah, I don't know how, like, can you interact with the pendulum summon like on the chain?
I'll answer it like this. So when a pendulum summon is being performed, you cannot respond to it. It's kind of just like a you normal summoning a monster, let's say. Like there isn't like a window. You can negate that summon, or you can like interact with the monsters after they're summoned. But when your opponent is saying, I'm going to pendulum summon, there's like no like in between point that you can disrupt them, but you can destroy scales prior to them pendulum summoning. So let's say I go scale Flash Knight, scale Fucko's Cannon, okay? You can assume that I'm going to pendulum summon from that point. So if you have a card that has a quick effect to destroy a spell or trap, you could blow up my scales, and now I can't pendulum summon because now I'm missing the other half of the scale, if that makes sense.
Okay, I think I finally understand what you mean by scales. So like, one of the sides is the highest number, the lowest side, or the other side is the lowest number, and then
correct.
That is
correct.
Across the entire. Okay, I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean. Okay.
So this should be easy then.
Okay, let's. Okay, this card's good. I would say it's banned. I even if you can, I think interacting with the pendulum card or like scale is obviously very like bad. Because like if sure. I'm guessing if you break the pendulum scale, like the summon no longer happens. Like it's just gone. It's negated.
So if you break the scales, your opponent still has the ability to put down another scale and pendulum summon after that. But they would have to have a scale that would correspond to allow them to do that, if that makes sense.
Yes, but that wouldn't like, the card wouldn't just like vanish in thin air, just stay in your extra deck?
It goes to your extra deck, correct.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I'll go with banned. This card seems good. I think the Eccentric is very good. Good card. Please.
This card is very good.
Okay, nice.
But not banned. Eccentric is fine. Like this card, it had its moment when the pendulum mechanic was like first introduced. It saw plenty of play, not like widespread play, but it saw like a good amount of play because it's removal at the end of the day, and it's like free removal on top of it because it keeps coming back over and over again. But it was never like an oppressive thing or anything like that. Like it was a totally fine card that would see play. But so you got it like half right. You just didn't get the point for actually getting it correct.
Okay.
You'll have a chance to redeem yourself. Don't worry. You'll have a chance. You're starting to, I think you actually have a grasp of like what's going on here. So that'll help immensely. Where CGB, we'd probably, the whole video is going to be me trying to explain to him how this works. So let's move on.
Okay. What the fuck are these cards? Majespecter, or is it Majespecter?
Majespecter. Good.
Okay. Good. Unicorn-Kirin, 6 stars. So it's 2 on the pendulum scale. It has no effect currently. The monster effect is during either player's turn, you could target 1 pendulum monster in your monster zone and 1 monster your opponent controls, return them to the hands. You can only use this effect of this card once per turn, cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effect. Oh my god.
So this card doesn't have a pendulum effect. Sometimes you see this where they only have a monster effect. Which is nice because it's less reading for you. But yeah, that's for this Majespecter archetype. I believe none of them actually had text in the center box for the first wave of support. So
okay,
that was good for people's reading comprehension.
This is really interesting because it's like mana cheating. Like it's almost mana cheating in this case. Like it's like
it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything's cheating.
But this is like literally like your version of mana cheating. Like it's so interesting how you could rip this one like so. Just so I'm double checking. In order to pendulum summon this, you would need a 1 pendulum scale and anything greater than 2.
So you would need to have anything that is. So there's a couple ways you could do it.
This is 6. My bad. So you would need because you're basing off the stars. So you need something greater than 7 and then less than 6.
Less than 5 because it has to be in between. But yes, correct. So anything less than 5, anything greater than 7. Correct. Also, if you want, it is a 6-star monster. You can still tribute summon it if you want to do that. I mean, typically that's not what you're wanting to do. You want to cheat these things out for free with the pendulum summon. But like you can still, if it has 4 or less stars, normal summon it. You could tribute summon it, but you're trying to pendulum summon and cheat them out. Yes. Okay. And so as long, like you said, I'm just trying to remember every rule here. So like you said, if this is already in your hand and the scale is already set up for this card, you can just summon it from your regular hand. Correct. Or if it's already face up in your extra deck, then you can do that as well.
Okay. And remind me, once per turn is your turn. Once I hit end turn, it goes to my opponent's, then this ability can be used again.
Correct.
Okay, isn't this card just fucking broken?
Like, is it? I don't know.
Can't be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card seems really good when you are literally interacting with your opponent every single time. But you can target 1 pendulum monster in your monsters, and you have to have a Okay, so you have to have a pendulum monster in the monster zone, which means if I pendulum summon. Okay, I gotta just understand every rule here. If I pendulum summon this, it will go to the monster zone, right?
Correct.
So am I allowed to target this and my opponent's monster every single time and then just resummon it with the pendulum thing if the scale is set up? So this is actually just batshit insane because you could this is my pendulum monster. My opponent plays literally fucking anything. I say no, you're going back to your hand, and then I just redo it to him the following turn. Okay, no, this is banned. Yep. This is disgusting. If I'm understanding this correctly, and my opponent can't interact with it as far as I'm concerned unless he has like some kind of AOE effect. Disgusting. Actually, even with the AOE effect, right? Can't be targeted or destroyed.
Can't be destroyed. No,
it'd
have to be non-targeting, non-destructive removal. Correct.
Broken. Banned. Really good.
Final answer?
Final answer, please.
You are correct, Raren. Okay. Kirin is extremely crazy. Kirin actually isn't banned now. It's actually back at 3, but was banned for quite some time. The reason they brought it back is Majespecters got new support, and so this was like part of the incentive with the ban list. They're like, oh, here you go, have Kirin back. Also Kirin's kind of power crept at this point, if you can believe that. Like this card was a menace when it was like first printed. Don't get me wrong, and was horrifying. But now it's gotten to the point where it's totally fine. But yeah, very, very strong card. And I think you're actually doing a wonderful job understanding why this mechanic is so broken. Because even if they find a way to deal with the Kirin somehow, you just pendulum summon it back. Like, who cares? And not to mention, you can have multiple Kirins, which is just even crazier. So, like, granted, you can only use the effect of 1, but even if they, like, have a way to deal with 1 but not 2, it's a hard once per turn, but that's totally fine because they're going to have to get through the other one somehow anyway. So, very nasty card, and you figured it out. It is banned. So now you see the power scale that we are working with here.
I do see it. I do understand.
Okay.
This is literally your game's mana cheating. This is very interesting.
Let's see if you figure it out with this card.
Okay. Luster Pendulum, the Draco Slayer or Draco Slayer, 4 stars, so it can be normal summoned. All right, so this is a 5-skill pendulum. Okay, once per turn, if you have a card in your other pendulum zone, you could destroy that card, and if you do, add 1 card from your deck to your hand with the same name as that card. The normal summon is can't be special summon fusion, synchro, or XYZ monsters using this card as material, except for Draco Slayer monsters.
You can ignore that part. It's mainly the pendulum effect.
Once per turn, if you have a card in your other pendulum zone, you could destroy that card, and if you do, add 1 card from your deck to your hand with the same name as that card. So by doing this, you are breaking your scale.
You are breaking your scale, yes.
Okay, so you would have
Why would you want to break your own
scale?
That's a great question. Why would you want to do that?
That's a great question. Why would I want to do it?
Where does the monster go when you break the scale?
In your extra deck, you're right.
Correct.
So, okay, hold on. There's so many layers you have to go through. Okay, if I break my, is there ever a reason to, or can you even do this? Actually, this is a great question. How do you interact with something on the pendulum scale as an opponent? Like if I play this and it goes to like my right zone, for instance, how do I interact with it? Is it a spell? Is it a monster?
It's considered a spell. So any sort of spell and trap removal would be able to destroy a pendulum scale.
Okay, and then as a player, is there ways to interact? Can I just be like, I don't want this card in my pendulum on the most left side anymore, so I'm gonna move it? I'm guessing I can't do that. Okay.
Unless there's a card effect that lets you, but for the most part, when you scale something, it's stuck there.
Okay, so that is one reason why you would want to use that card, is to change your scale if you ever need to. If you have a card in your pendulum zone, you can destroy that card. If you do, add one card. Okay, so this is like it's like drawing with extra steps, but you're getting the cards for free because you could just resummon them.
Yep.
If they fit in your scale. That seems pretty good.
That seems pretty good, huh?
Okay, it's got a 5, which is kind of a weird number, to be honest, because I think
5 is a weird number.
You want a bigger range.
It really depends. So for context, some archetypes, let's just stick with like pendulum archetypes specifically. Some might be, I'm trying to think of like a good example here. Usually they design the archetypes that the scales make sense for the deck. So like, for instance, if the archetype is all level 4s, maybe the scales are like 3 to 5, but maybe the archetype has monsters that are level 3 through 6, right? So the scales are 2 and 7 for most of the cards. So sometimes like the scales are wonky, but sometimes in the context of like the deck you would play it in, it makes sense. So like while a 5 might be weird, if the other scales are 3s and you only need a pendulum summon level 4s, then it doesn't matter, right? Because that's the only monster you care about summoning. So just to give you some context there.
I mean, if you build your deck around this is obviously very good. And then I'm assuming you're putting this into a deck that is running like the Draco Slayers, which are the Draco Slayers good?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go.
I will say you can evaluate this card without knowing that, but I will just let you know this is a tuner. You know that's what you need to make a synchro monster. They have a synchro monster that is very good. Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with this card's great just because of the fact that you can draw, 3 copies of a card pretty easily. I'm gonna assume, if not more. You just keep destroying the card that's in your scale. Okay, hold on, just so I'm very clear. There is no cost for playing a card in your pendulum scale zone because you're not actually using your like normal summon for it, right?
Correct. It's just like playing a spell card.
It's fucking broken.
Yes.
What the fuck? Okay,
Final answer?
Yes.
Lester Pendulum is cracked. He is crazy. Like I said, the synchro he summons. He has several things that he helps enable in terms of like things from the extra deck. They're all very good. The synchro one's probably the most broken out of all of them. But even that aside, if you just solely look at this card in a vacuum and evaluate the effect, you are literally giving yourself free card advantage because you're going to pop something that is going to go to your extra deck. You get another copy of it, so you're already like up a card, even though it went to the extra deck, right? And then it already is giving you a scale. Like there's just so much upside with this card, but it wasn't banned. It got limited for a period of time to 1 copy because it was very good, but not banned good, if that makes sense. So very close though, very close. Very close.
I thought card draw was illegal in your game. What the hell?
It's not card draw. It's technically adding cards.
Okay.
So, you know,
All right.
Let's see what you think about this guy.
Performage Plushfire. What the hell? What is that thing?
It's a little ice cream cone, we call it.
Is that what it is? Okay. If a Performage monster you control is destroyed, sorry, this is the pendulum effect. If a Performage monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you could special summon this card from your pendulum zone, then take 500 damage. You could special summon this card from your pendulum zone. Okay, so hold on. Does that mean like it's not a spell anymore? It's a monster?
Correct. And so hypothetically, you would have a Performage. It gets destroyed. Plushfire would trigger. You move it from the pendulum scale to the monster zone. So it becomes a monster. And then you take 500 damage.
If this card on the... Sorry, this is the monster effect. If this card is on the field... If this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you could special summon 1 Performage monster from your hand or deck, except this one. That's 1,000. Why would I want to do the pendulum effect? Hold on, I'm just trying to understand this. You could special summon this card from your pendulum zone and take 500 damage? So like, what? I guess you could destroy this on your own and just summon a shit ton of them.
How would you do that?
Well, when it dies, it just goes to your extra deck, right? And then you just keep you just keep doing it over and over again.
If only there was a card that I showed you within the past 2 minutes that would enable such a thing.
Yeah, I'm just trying to why. Okay, but so you would draw all of them with the last dude you showed me, and then you would skip the summon to put all of them on the board, and then you would use that as fodder for something else to summon, and then all of a sudden you just bypass like the most basic mechanic in the game, and therefore you would be able to summon something ridiculous that you probably wouldn't have been able to. And then on top of that, you also added more cards to your deck, and then after you use those cards to summon something, you can just put them back on your board again because
Yu-Gi-Oh's great, huh?
Okay, so like in Hearthstone, that'd be banned. Like that'd be nerfed to infinity. Like you wouldn't be able to play that.
What about Yu-Gi-Oh? What about Yu-Gi-Oh?
So in Yu-Gi-Oh, you would okay, wait, hold on. You would fucking play this. You would draw all these in your hand, in your extra deck, then you're summoning. I mean, I'm assuming you can use this to summon shit from like your extra deck or something. So you basically have infinite resources. So if you technically have luster, you need to set up your scale, but if you could set up is this a first turn OTK? Like it probably is. Like it depends on how likely you are to get both luster and like Plushfire in the same hand, but if you do, it's just over. No, I guess you would have to have this. No, because the scale is less than 4 for both of them. Okay, I'm gonna go with the fact that that sounds disgusting in my head, so I will go with the fact that it's very good and probably banned. Like you go through the whole shebang. If you could do this on first turn, like you set up a board that is like unstoppable. So yeah, sure. Let's go with ban. That sounds good.
You would be correct, Rarin. Plushfire is absolutely batshit crazy. I don't want to say too much about this because I have another Performage card to show you coming up here, and then I want to give you the full context. But when it comes to this specifically, I showed you the very rudimentary combo of go Luster Pendulum, Plushfire, Luster, pop Plushfire. You're going to add another copy of Plushfire, and then Plushfire triggers, which means you get a free summon. Not to mention, you can just now Pendulum summon both Plushfires that you have to the field, and if you have any other ways to pop these Plushfires, they seem to have forgot the hard once per turn clause on the monster effect of this card, so you just get to keep plussing and getting more value, but we'll talk about that more in a little bit. Let's show you the last of our Performage brethren here and see what you think.
Okay. Oh my god. Okay, what the fuck is that thing? Performapal Monkeyboard. Okay, the Pendulum effect. Unless you have a Performapal card in your other Pendulum zone, this card's Pendulum scale becomes 4. Without other effect, it is 4. Okay, that's interesting. I wonder how that interacts. During your main phase, if this card is activated this turn, you can add 1 level 4 or lower Performapal monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn.
To save you some reading, that's the only effect on this card that actually matters.
You're stopping yourself from having a scale because you only have the one side of it. Unless that text means that like this scale is 4. Like you can only summon 4, but I don't think that's how it reads.
No, so basically instead of it being the number 1, imagine it would be the number 4, unless the other card in your scale is also a Performapal. So they're basically saying you could only use this with like other Performapal cards.
That makes sense.
If you will.
Okay. During your main phase,
so think about it with Plushfire. Plushfire is a scale 5. So as long as Plushfire is the card in the other scale, Monkeyboard is considered a 1. But if Luster was the other one, Monkeyboard would be considered a 4.
Okay, so yeah, you do want to use it with Performapal. Okay, having
Correct.
1 is fucking cracked. That seems like making
learning.
Making your range bigger sounds so much. So like, what is the effect of this card though? Like during your main phase, if this card was activated this turn, what does that mean? Like activated? Like
so that means that if you activated it in the Pendulum scale, like that turn. So if a turn goes by and it's still there, you can't use it on the following turn. You can only use it the turn you activate.
Okay, so this is like a battle cry from Hearthstone. You can only use it once from hand.
I wouldn't say it's a battle cry, but for the purposes of this, essentially yes. Because you still have to do it at ignition speed, which is kind of weird, like sorcery speed. But like basically when you play it is when you have to use the effect. So like sort of, but not really, if that makes sense.
So during your main phase of this card is activated this turn, you can add 1 level 4 or lower Performapal monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. This one's a little bit more interesting. I'm trying to think of like what, like I feel like the last card's like infinitely better than this one. You only get to add one. You only get to add one card. You can add one level 4 or lower Performapal from your deck to your hand. I guess in theory, it's like you're using this card to set up your scale. That's its sole purpose. And I guess if it's like having one and whatever the other one may be, like it probably sets you up to do some really disgusting things. That is where my brain is going. I mean, this card, other than that, is like, I guess you also get the draw card, so it replaces itself, which is great. And you get, I guess you could also set your scale up, because like level 4 or lower monster does not mean that what its pendulum scale is, right?
Correct. I will let you know there are level 4 or lower Performages or Performapals, excuse me, that have scales that are 6, 7, 8. So you can have a wide range for your pendulum scale with this card.
So I guess this one is, it obviously sets that up so you could do some disgusting things, but it also is very contingent on like what you're summoning, I guess. But I mean, if anything's an indication, a lot of these cards look like they're fucking stupid. And if I'm summoning any card between 1 and 7, even 1 and 6, I think I'm pretty happy here. So probably right. I guess it says like, hey, set your scale up with a card that has 1. You haven't shown me a card with pendulum scale that has 1. And I'm hoping they use that very sparingly, but to be honest with you, I have no idea at this point. I'm going to assume this was good just because you're setting up the scale. Now, bannable, drawing a card, you play this. My only problem with this card though is like, how do you get it on board without summoning, or like without you pendulum scaling it, or without like mana cheating with pendulum? Oh no, but this is a hard once per turn too, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I was like, you can probably do some crack stuff with Luster, but I wonder if that's good enough. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing like context here, but I don't know how likely it is you could just summon this from your hand. I'm sure I just gotta read through all the cards you're showing me just in case. Like, I'm sure it's pretty fucking easy because like, man, you could just like, I don't know why that's my hold up. Huh? Like, is it hard to set this? If it's not hard to play, I'm gonna go with the fact that it's probably pretty easy. I just don't understand how you're gonna do it, but I'm sure you're gonna explain it to me.
Okay.
I think setting up your scale with a monster that basically says you can have whatever range you please and you draw a card for that seems pretty good. So I'll go with like it's good. I'm gonna go with it. How good is it to be banned though?
How good is it, Raren? How good?
I won't say it's banned. I won't say it's banned. I think like it's fine. No, it's not fine. None of these cards are fine. It's good, not banned. It's good, not banned.
Final answer.
Should
have went with your gut, buddy. This one's banned too.
Fuck!
So, let me give you some context here, and I can give you the full scope of everything. So, you actually like hit it right on the head, and maybe you just, I don't know, like maybe something was missing for you, and I'll ask you after the fact, but Monkeyboard sets up your scale with 1 card. One of the biggest downsides of pendulum summoning is the fact that you need to commit 2 cards into your scales in order to give you the ability to pendulum summon. So you're kind of like down 2 cards, but obviously you see there's like ways to work around that. Some of them like replace themselves. There's like a lot of gimmicks to it, right? But inherently, you're down 2 cards to give you that ability. Monkeyboard was maybe the first card, if not one of the first cards, to allow you to just complete a pendulum scale with a singular card. You activate Monkeyboard, you do the effect, you get your other guy that's like a scale 8, and now you can just pendulum summon, and you basically got a card for free that allows you to do the pendulum summon, so now you're an extra card up than you otherwise would be. That's fucking crazy. The fact that you can do this with 1 card is nuts. That means that even if your opponent does find a way to like crack your board, you have the comeback potential because now you just need to get to a monkey board to get your scales back up and operating, and now you can just vomit everything back onto the field all over again. Monkeyboard is an absolute menace, and this, along with Plushfire, along with Luster, along with several other cards that I'm not going to show you because otherwise we'd be here forever, are the makings of what is arguably one of the strongest decks in Yu-Gi-Oh's history called Pepe. And it's really funny because it's just full of all these like clown buffoon looking idiots. And these were like the most menacing things in the entire game for a very short period of time because they were just that broken. They pushed the pendulum summoning mechanic to its limits. Your opponent would very easily end their first turn like plus 10 cards on you. That's how absolutely batshit nuts these cards were. It actually got like emergency banned before it got over here into the TCG. The OCG had it way worse for way longer. So thankfully it wasn't as bad here. But man, you're looking right now at the face of absolute terror because Monkeyboard, people fucking hated this card.
Okay, so you got to explain though. How do you summon this on its own? Like, don't you need to like sacrifice something, or what am I missing here?
You don't care. You don't care about summoning Monkeyboard. Monkeyboard's sole purpose is to just give you the fact that you have pendulum scales with a singular card.
Wait,
you can summon it. You can summon it. Like, there's nothing saying you can't.
Yeah.
But you don't care. Like, you just want it for the fact that it gets you scales. Sometimes people would summon it. I'm not saying it would never happen, but you're never actually, like, for the most part, wanting to do that.
I'm gonna be honest. I completely forgot the fact that, like, pendulums, you don't need to actually summon it. Like, you just place it in the slot, right? And then you
it's just sticking in the slot, right? Okay. And that's the thing. So you have your scale of like 1 to 8 or whatever, and if your opponent doesn't break that, guess what? You just pendulum summon again next turn, bring everything right back. This is like why this mechanic is so controversial, because everything's like free.
So I saw the last two being 4 stars, and I was like, oh, you just place that in your pendulum spot, and you're chilling. And then this one has 6, and I was like, oh, don't you need to like special summon it to your pendulum spot? But you don't. That's where like I was hung up on it. That's why I was like, yeah, that. Okay. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like, if I show you videos of people playing this deck, you were like, there's no way this is okay. It is absolutely
I don't even think I need to see it. I think the fact that you just it's literally, like, believe me, mana cheating is an absolute specialty in Hearthstone, and we thrive to become your game. I can't even imagine what it's like in your game.
But yeah, literally like top 5 decks in Yu-Gi-Oh's history is like what these cards were. It was that good. It's absurd. All right. As we move on, let's see what you think about this guy. Give you a bigger pendulum monster here.
What? Amorphage Goliath. What the fuck? This guy looks sick as hell. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, this guy's cool. This guy's sick.
Okay, 5 pendulum scale. While you control an Amorphage monster, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead, except Amorphage cards. Once per turn during your standby phase, tribute 1 monster or destroy this card. Okay, hold on. This type of monster, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. Oh, neither. And then the monster effect is neither player can special summon monsters from the extra deck. Oh, gaze. Wow, that is fun.
Because they need to be more broken, right?
That's actually really fucked up. Because that kind of, like, if you go first and you get to play this, like, your opponent just probably loses. Like, they. It might give you fucking like flashbacks.
Yep. Trust me, when I had to pick out the cards for this video, because I wanted to pick stuff that for the most part was pretty like self-contained, or like things that I could link together for you, like Luster and Plushfire. Man, it was like war flashbacks. It was not fun. It was not fun.
Okay, that seems really good. And I'm imagining that, again, like, I don't even have to look at the the monster effect is actually really good. But then you could just summon it with the pendulum effect, and then you're like, haha. Okay, I'm gonna assume this is broken. I hope it's broken. I hope you guys don't have to play against this and it's banned.
Is that your answer?
I mean, I think if I'm reading this correctly, it literally just says, like, your opponent doesn't have to play the game if you go first, depending what their deck is. So if you're going first and half the like 50-50 half the time your opponent doesn't play, I feel like Konami doesn't want that in the game. So I want to say it's banned. I'm just gonna see if I could talk myself out of it. Any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. No, like you don't want that. Like, that sounds awful. And then you stop them from special summoning if you want that too. And like, you showed me ways to just put it in the no, it's fucking no, it's banned. It's banned. It's banned. It's banned. It has to be banned. There's no way this is not banned. That's disgusting.
Final answer?
Can you have 2 of these on the board too? Oh, fuck that.
Does it say you can't?
No, you can't. Banned. Yeah, banned. Yeah, banned.
Final answer?
Final answer.
This card's fine.
What? What? Okay, the monster effect is silly.
It is.
So,
but it's fine.
Why is it fine?
So this is an interesting one. Goliath is, don't get me wrong, this card is very unfun, very toxic, very unhealthy. The thing is, though, if you don't have a way to protect Goliath doesn't have a way to protect itself. I mean, it's a big guy. It's 2750. But the thing is, this is a level 8. Pendulum summoning out level 8s is kind of difficult. Not all archetypes, I would say, have the ability, very few, actually, I will say, have the ability to pen summon things that are level 8. Just because, like, I would say scales, for the most part, are typically, like, 1 in 8 is quite common. So, because it has an 8, that means you can't include 8. So, it would have to have a 9 or a 10 scale, something like that. You could pendulum summon out a couple guys, then tribute summon for 2 tributes, because it's a level 8, out the Amorphage Goliath. But that's like a whole nother issue, because then you're committing all these resources into this Goliath, and then it's like, okay, it just dies to, you know, anything, or has like a million different outs, because it doesn't protect itself. So if you have a way to protect it, it definitely is annoying. There were decks that took advantage of this. There's another card called Sloth that basically does the exact same thing. It's actually a level 6. I think it's 5 or 6. which makes it a lot easier to Pendulum summon out and has that same effect to prevent your opponent from special summoning from the extra deck. But even in those instances, like, there's not really ways to, like, search these cards. Like, you have to, like, just kind of hope you hard draw it unless there's, like, other decks that can, like, cheat this thing out. But even in those instances, it's not like the most egregious thing ever. And there's so many different ways to interact with something like this, to like negate its effects, to remove it from the field, that yes, it's annoying. But contextually, like when people would play this card, it was very annoying, but it was never like the biggest issue was like the fact that, you know, Pendulum decks were Pendulum decks, right? Not the fact that like this card was something that these Pendulum decks could be summoning, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So like Goliath and Sloth by extension were very annoying cards, and but they never got hit in any capacity. When they dealt with the more pressing matter, which was how broken these mechanics are inherently, then these cards just sort of went away by the wayside. Funny enough, Goliath was actually played more in Blue Eyes, as a matter of fact. The Blue Eyes archetype had a way to summon out Goliath for free. So that deck actually played this instead of a lot of Pendulum decks, funny enough. You can believe that.
You're saying so, they nerfed this mechanic, right? How did they nerf this mechanic?
So I don't want to say they did nerf the mechanic, but I want to say they'd like nerf the decks that would be playing these cards. Okay. So they would like hit, like, so for instance, like Pepe, right? Like they would hit cards in Pepe, and then if Pepe's not the best deck anymore, then people aren't going to play these other cards as by consequence of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Indirectly nerfing. Yeah, I get you.
They did nerf Pendulum summoning. I'm not going to confuse you further because this is already a lot for you. But they did have to do an entire rule overhaul to make Pendulum summoning worse. Because the first iteration was even more broken than what I'm describing to you. A few left, and I'm going to warn you, these have a lot of text.
Okay, that's fine. Oh, God. Astrograph Sorcerer. Again, really cool art, though, to be fair.
Yeah, this guy's sick. This guy's sick.
This is 7 stars. Okay, so this has a 1 Pendulum scale. During your main phase, you can destroy this card, and if you do, take 1 Stargazer Magician from your hand or deck. You can place it in your Pendulum zone or special summon it. You can only use this once per turn. Okay. The monster effect. If a card you control is destroyed by battle or a card effect, you could special summon this card from your hand. Then you could choose 1 monster in your graveyard, extra deck, or that is banished, and that was destroyed this turn, and add 1 monster with the same name from your deck to your hand. You can banish,
and you can stop there. You can stop there. Oh, okay. The other part is something that no one ever does. That's you can just end there. Okay. I will show you Stargazer Magician in case you want to have it for extra context here.
Okay, hold on. Let me reread this card before I get there.
Sure.
If a card you control is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you could special summon this card from your hand, and then you can choose 1 monster in the graveyard, extra deck, or that is banished, and that was destroyed this turn, and add 1 monster with the same name from your deck to your hand. Okay, so this is like a way for you to get something that just died from your hand and special summon this. That's pretty spicy. The Pendulum effect is during your main phase. You can either destroy this card, and if you do, take 1 Stargazer Magician. Okay, so what is Stargazer Magician? 1 Pendulum effect. If a Pendulum monster you control battles, your opponent cannot activate spell cards until the end of the damage step, unless you have a Magician card or Odd Eyes card in your other Pendulum zone. This card's Pendulum scale becomes 4. Okay, those were 2 different sentences. I read it like it was 1.
Well, Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't space it out to make it easy for you.
You're good. You're good. Sorry, it's okay, Konami. I understand. Once per turn. I don't even know where they would fit it on the card, to be completely honest with you. So I don't think they did.
Yeah, they definitely pushed the limits on how much text they could fit on a card, as you see here.
Okay, the monster effect. Once per turn, when exactly 1 other Pendulum monster you control and no other cards returned to your hand by an opponent's card effect, except during the damage step, you could special summon 1 monster from your hand with the same name as the one that returned to your hand. Okay, so I gotta connect the dots here. Hold on. Okay, let's start off with the monster effect here. The monster effect seems very good. Not only do you get the special summon from this for free, you get a big monster, and you get to add a card to your hand. And you could hold this for, I mean, realistically, you can play this whenever you want, but you're probably looking for something specific. Actually, I don't even know if that's the case. I think if I had like 3 of these in my hand and something died, I think I'm just playing it, and then I'm adding those cards to my hand.
Yep.
That seems pretty good. You're like, let me hold on. Is he getting it? Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay, now in terms of the Pendulum effect, you could destroy this card. Now, when you say destroy this card, this card has to be in your Pendulum zone to do this.
Correct. So you'd put it in your scale, you would activate the effect of Astrograph Sorcerer to destroy it, it would go to your extra deck, and then you would take a Stargazer and either add it to your hand or put that in your scale.
This just goes to your extra deck, and then you add another card to your hand.
Correct. I will also help you out. Stargazer is just a 1 scale. You can ignore the text on it.
Just a 1 scale.
Just imagine he has no text. Just imagine he's just a 1. I mean, he's either a monster on the field or he's a 1 scale. Either way.
So, okay, then you're using the Astrograph to basically kill this to get another card to your hand, but killing this doesn't mean that much because it just goes to your extra deck, and if you have the right skill, you just summon it again. But you can only do that once per turn, but that's still good because you're +1 card, and you just summon this again theoretically. How do you, because this is 7. So is there like another Astrograph or something that would work with the Pendulum here? Probably.
Sure. Assume that for this deck that they have 8 scales as well.
But I mean, like, yeah, so you would go, hold on, I gotta walk through the thing here. So you go, this is the Pendulum, sacrifice this card, you would put the other card in your scale to be at 1. Let's just say in terms of this, you have a way to special summon this again from your deck to summon this for the monster effect. You then have this. You could choose special summon a monster from your hand, then choose 1 monster in your graveyard. Destroy this card for a card effect. If I used its own effect to get the Magician, that still counts as a card effect.
Correct.
So this is like, it's just a full circle with this thing. So you could just, you get the Magician, and then you also can grab, you replay this card.
You need a second copy because that effect activates in the hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're overcooking on that one. You're overcooking on that one.
Hold on. You could special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, so you need a second copy.
Right. So in your example, if you scale Astrograph, use its effect to pop itself and get the Stargazer. If you had a second Astrograph, you could use that Astrograph, summon it, and get another Astrograph out of your deck because that was what just got destroyed in that very basic example.
Then you can choose 1 monster in your graveyard extra deck, and then it's banished during the turn, and 1 monster of the same. I mean, it's like recursion, but you also get like ginormous dudes, no? Like it's not. That's basically what you're going for here. And then you set up your scale in such a way that like you could just keep resummoning this stuff, or you can get something else consistently. And you're only getting more cards, not even necessarily from your, like, that is banished. Like, how good is that? That seems kind of interesting. I feel like you haven't really shown me a card that just pulls something from thin air again. That's fucking, I mean, that sounds pretty good. I think this is the concept of like, this is just in your hand, like 3 copies of it, and then you just kill something, you just summon all of them. And then all of a sudden you're pushing 7,500 damage.
Does it say you can't?
No, it doesn't. That's why I think it's good. I think that's very strong. Like, that sounds fucking cracked. I guess if you have multiple on the board too, your opponent needs an answer to both at the same time. Otherwise, you just re-pull it back, right? That's just it? It's just constantly recursion?
I mean, that's the entire Pendulum summoning mechanic in general, is that if you don't have a way to destroy their scales or stop them from assembling scales again, then they just bring back like 5 guys, and then you just lose because you're not going to be able to keep up with that amount of advantage.
Yeah, that sounds so fucking stupid. Oh my God.
Yep. Now you're getting it.
I think this is disgusting. I'm pretty sure, like in Hearthstone, like I wouldn't play the game for a little bit until they nerfed it. I don't know how to.
Now you're getting it. Now you're getting it.
Because even if you banish,
feel our pain, Hearthstone player. Feel our pain.
I will say this is probably extremely good. Yeah, the Astrograph guy seems like he's pretty nutty. I mean, like I just, if you have 2 of them, I don't know how your opponent plays the game anymore. Because they just constantly, you just cycle both of them every single time one dies. You just pull the other one out and then you bring the other one back. Like you're just fucking crying. That doesn't, that doesn't sound fair. That's like infinite resources for like basically nothing. Like I don't even think you need the Pendulum skill for the monster effect, right? Like as long as it's just in your hand and this card dies, you just keep doing it. That seems fucked up. That seems fucked. No, it's probably good. Okay, I'll go with banned. I'll go with banned. Sure. That seems fucked up.
It's fucked up. Okay. It's bad. You're right. This card is absolutely disgusting. So let me just like walk you through a basic example here that we've been building upon this whole episode. Luster Pendulum pop Performage Plushfire with Astrograph Sorcerer in hand. So you scale Luster Pendulum, you scale Plushfire. Luster pops Plushfire. Plushfire is going to trigger to special summon something out of the deck. Astrograph would go on that chain because since Plushfire got destroyed by your own Luster, you get to summon Astrograph, add a Plushfire, and then the Luster will give you a Plushfire as well from that effect. You have another monster on the field from the Plushfire resolving, and now you have 2 other Plushfires in hand, and you still haven't Pendulum summoned yet, that you could bring those out onto the field, and you could just see how it just keeps getting out of hand. Just the more it goes on, the more broken this mechanic just continues to get. It's so fucking stupid. And Astrograph is a card. It's just so much value because even when you feel like, oh, I'm going to pop their Pendulum scales, psych Astrograph Sorcerer, you can get a copy of the scale that they just popped. You have a 2,500 guy on the field, and you just got that scale back, and you fueled their extra deck so that when they do Pendulum Summon, they have another card to bring out that they wouldn't have had before. Just dumb. There's a million other reasons why this card is dumb, like the typing, the level, like there's just, it's 2,500, like it's just big for no reason. Like you said, you could just kill people with it because it's just huge. This card is so dumb. This card is so fucking dumb. It's absolutely ridiculous how dumb this card is.
Nice.
Yep. Great time. You're learning though. You're getting it.
It's actually pretty incredible though how they're able to power creep this game that I think is unpower creepable, and they still manage to do it every time. It's very impressive.
It's so funny you say that, Rare. It's so funny you say that because I've got one more card for you, and brace yourself, buddy. If you haven't put your glasses on yet.
Oof. All right, so if you're basing the, like the segue you said, like it's power creeping, so it's just banned preemptively. Hold on, let me read it though.
I don't know. Is it? I don't know.
How the fuck do you bring Endymion? Endymion. Okay, yeah, there you go. That makes more sense. It's the mighty master of magic. Holy shit. Oh, he's actually an A pendulum. Okay, holy fuck. You can remove 6 spell counters from your field. What is a spell counter?
So a spell counter is anytime any player plays a spell card, a spell counter on a card that can get spell counters, which is anything that has the spell counter like text on it, like this card. It puts a counter on that card. And then you use the spell counters by removing them to do certain things. You'll understand that as you read this card more. But just imagine for this archetype that every card in the archetype can hold spell counters, and it's very easy for them to generate spell counters. So that is not an issue.
Special summon this card from the Pendulum. Okay, sorry. Let me show you. You can remove 6 spell counters from your field. Special summon this card from the Pendulum Zone. Count the number of cards you control that can have a spell counter. Destroy up to that many cards of the field, and if you do, place spell counters on this card equal to the number of cards destroyed. You can only use this effect once per turn. Once per turn, when a spell/trap card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can return 1 card you control with a spell counter to your hand, and if you do, negate that activation. And if you do it, destroy it. And then you can place the same number of spell counters on this card that the return card had. While this card has a spell counter, your opponent cannot target it with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. When this card with the spell counter is destroyed by battle, you can add 1 normal spell from your deck to your hand. Okay, so like this is just gone. Then once this is on the board, it's over. Like, what do you mean?
I don't know. Is it? You tell us.
That sounds fucking okay. Like, I mean, the first effect, the pendulum effect is like good. 6 spells counters, and you're saying that like for this particular instance everyone has a spell counter.
Yeah, so like let me give an example. Some things that you would put in your pendulum scales, those can hold spell counters. So if you play a single spell card, you'll put 1 spell counter on each of those, so that's already 2 from a single spell card. Also, pendulums count as spell cards, so anytime you play a pendulum card in your scale, that also is putting spell counters on. So like I said, the spell counter thing, it's kind of relevant for this, but for the most part, it's irrelevant in the sense that you're going to have a lot of spell counters at all times with this deck. Okay. So that's why I want you to kind of ignore that part.
Wait, this is just, isn't this just fucked? Like, I just, again, like, it's just, the scale is so good. Like, it's easy to play. Like, just as a pendulum scale, you just bypass, you just fuck your opponent's board real quick with the pendulum effect. And then if it's the monster effect, you also just fuck them regardless. Okay. And it's, okay, you have 8 scale? Oh my God, there's no way this is balanced, bro. What the fuck?
And he's level 7.
And if you kill
How
this
convenient.
Yeah, oh my God, that means you could summon another one of these. Wow, that's so fun. Wow, this game is awesome.
Isn't it?
Wow, and it's a quick effect. Wow.
And it's not as hard once per turn. Wow.
That's so, that's fucked up. Okay, no, banned? Like, don't fucking tell me this is banned. Actually banned.
Talk yourself out of it. Talk yourself out of it.
No, there's no time. It doesn't matter like where it's on the board, you just lose. Like, how hard does this thing even get out? Like, it can't be that difficult. Like, there's no ban. That's too good. Final answer. Get it out.
That's it. Not even.
What do you want me to say?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know.
Both effects just say how you lose, and then that's it. Your opponent can't even interact with it. And then if you have a second one, it's like, it's actually just hell. the equivalent of uninstalling like Hearthstone like against this card. Like I wouldn't play the game for again. Like it'd have to be nerfed for me to be like I want to play this game again, because I feel like if this card's playable, every deck is playing this, and then it's whoever gets this one guy first wins the game. It's spanned.
You good? You good?
Yeah, you good?
You get it out?
Right. Yeah, is we good? And
This card's fine.
There's like, okay, the only reason this is fine is because A, like it takes a lot longer to get spell counters, or B, like it's just too hard to get on the board. What is
it? Doesn't matter, because you could just pendulum summon it out. If you have a 1 scale and 8 scale, you just summon him.
Okay, so then how the fuck is it fine? What do you mean? I'm looking at this card. If this card is in Hearthstone, my opponent's literally uninstalling the game. Like, if I made it, like turn 1, boom, done. Your turn.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, why is it fine?
That's just how Yu-Gi-Oh is, if you can believe it. That is just how this game is. This deck was I would say it was like a tier 1 to tier 1.5, because like not every deck is throwing this card in, for context. The Endymion archetype, his name is Endymion, but Endymion is the entire archetype that this deck centralizes around with the spell counters and everything. This was actually in a structure deck, as a matter of fact. This wasn't even like a secret rare like $4 billion card. You could just buy the structure deck and have 3 copies of these, which is really cool. This card, it reads insane. Like, don't get me wrong. It reads like this card is absolutely batshit crazy. And it is. But the thing is, when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh!, everything is batshit crazy. So you know what? Sometimes it doesn't even matter. The thing is, like, when it comes to Endymion specifically, is that it has to, like, bounce something back that holds a spell counter. That can count itself sometimes, too. Like, if your opponent doesn't have another thing to bounce back, it can bounce itself. And then if you have ways to, like, destroy your opponent's scales or, like, different things like that, if you have the ability to interact with it before it has a spell counter. So, for instance, if I go, like, scale, pendulum summon Endymion, Endymion doesn't have any spell counters on it yet. So there's a small window there that if you have a way to, like, pop it or do something to it before your opponent plays a spell card to put a spell counter on it, there is, like, a chance to, like, make it, to deal with it before it's completely uninteractable for the most part. But we also just have things in Yu-Gi-Oh! That can interact with cards like this at the end of the day. And yes, Endymion is a card that can, like, just, like, negate some of those types of cards and destroy them. There are ways to deal with it, and just the... Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just at a place where there's just so much power concentrated in the decks that, as crazy as this card seems, as batshit, like, format warping, game breaking as this card looks, it's fine. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's fine. Funny enough, they actually hit other cards in this deck that were not this, if you can believe that.
So it's funny because, like, you're saying it's like in a structure deck, so they probably assumed it was going to be good, like, for a lot of people.
It's funny you say that, because typically the structure decks aren't that good. There was a period where they were releasing structure decks that were very good, and this was during that period, obviously. But yeah, it's kind of just a weird one. I don't know. I like, obviously playing against this card is not fun in the slightest, but again, like, especially when you look at, like, what decks around the time were good and different things like that, there were other things that were, like, as egregious, if not worse, that Endymion wasn't, like, the worst thing you could be dealing with. And it was bad, don't get me wrong. If you were playing up against, like, someone playing Endymion, you weren't happy to see it, but it's kind of just the nature of the game, is that we just have so many things to fight back, that something like this, as crazy and batshit nuts as it looks, it's fine. I don't know how, but you know, that's
There's always a bigger fish. There's always
honestly, there always is. There always is. And this card hasn't probably seen play in like 8 years, to be honest with you.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's how power crept the game is now, is that this card just doesn't even see play. Yep.
I'm actually shocked. In Hearthstone, that sounds really good. I guess it really depends, though, like how easy it is to get spell counters.
It's extremely easy. Like, the whole deck is all spells, and all monsters are pendulum monsters, so they all can put spell counters on. It's bad, but again, there's just so many tools and options, and the way that just how high power Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, it's like you could fight through something like this, and like it's not easy, but it's doable, and like consistently doable.
Dude, it's so funny. Like, I complain about stuff in Hearthstone, and I see shit like this, and I think I'd be like, why would I ever want to play this game ever in my life? Like, it makes Hearthstone look so much better. This literally says in Hearthstone, by the way, like, if it worked 1-to-1, like, mechanically, turn 1, your opponent doesn't play the game. Like, the game's over. Like, if you had this in your opening hand, it's over. And I guess in a lot of cases...
Would you believe me if I told you can search this card as well?
See, like, that's insane. You're telling me it's not even good enough. That's crazy. Well, that's good. You said it's just not bannable, or it's not banned.
Yeah, no, like I don't think anyone would say Endymion is a bad card by any means. It's just the power level of Yu-Gi-Oh is so high that we can have crazy like fantastical boss monsters like this that look like that like everything is gonna, like the world is ending, everything like that, but yet you can still fight back, and reasonably so.
That's okay. Like from a card designer's perspective, that's probably the fucking dream.
Yeah, because it's like you can push the limits of like what a card can do and see like how people react to that. And I would agree. Yeah, I think from a design perspective, yeah.
It's also just like they don't have to test anything, dude. They can just be like, all right, guys, we're gonna put all this on the fucking card. Let's see how it goes. And then worst case, we'll ban it, which is actually so great.
And like, even though it has the effect that says like your opponent can't target it or it can't be destroyed by card effects, there are worse protection effects. Like there are some cards that say they're unaffected by everything, right? So like there are still cards that can interact with it. Granted, it's fewer and further between. So like, it's not the healthiest card, but there's way worse offenders at the end of the day. And there are still options that can deal with something like this. So at the end of the day, like if this is like, if the Pendulum player's committing all their resources into summoning this and some other guys, if you break their board and pop their scales, they don't have a way to come back. Like that just might be the end of the game right there. So it could be very feast or famine in that regard too. So like Pendulum decks like are just very combo oriented, as you can tell. There's just a lot of synergies, especially as more and more support got printed. And now you can see why it's a very controversial mechanic when you're able to just summon this guy for free for no effort, and why a lot of people were starting to go away from Yu-Gi-Oh! During this time.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's also complicated as fuck. That's such a weird mechanic. Like, I feel like you need a guide. That's
exactly. Like, the fact that it took me like the first quarter of this video to explain to you how this works is just a testament to that. And even now, like people still like it still confuses people.
It's right. I mean, it kind of breaks the, I guess, like the original mold of like Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like everything you've shown me up until this point follows like basically what Yu-Gi-Oh has been doing since the beginning of time, and this is just so much different. It'd be so awful to learn this from like a real like paper standpoint. Like it'd be
a lot of people were really turned off by it. Like when this got announced that this was going to be like the next summoning mechanic, everyone was just thinking to themselves like, what the fuck is this? Like this isn't Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like because you know synchro summoning, you know Xyz summoning, like those are like not that difficult to pick up, right? Synchro summoning, you got your two guys, you make a synchro monster from the extra deck. The Xyz summoning, you overlay two guys, you make a guy from the extra. Like that's pretty intuitive, right? This is like 500 different new rules that you have to learn, and it changed so much about the game that I just can't begin to describe to you how many people I know just quit because like this was the game and they're like, I don't want anything to do with this. And obviously because it's the new summoning mechanic, they're going to push the cards to make them broken as fuck. And this is like, not that like everyone had to play Pendulum, but like the best decks for several years were typically Pendulum oriented decks. And a lot of people didn't like that. Like a lot of people wanted to play like more traditional style Yu-Gi-Oh, even with your synchros and your Xyz. Like they didn't want to play with these types of cards just because it's like, it feels like a different game almost in a lot of ways.
I mean, it's your example of mana cheating, right? There's got to be a lot of people.
I mean, honestly, like yeah, because it bypasses like the whole normal summon. I mean, it's one big gigantic special summon. Yeah. I
think it's so fucking funny that they were able to do that in this game, though. To be honest, that's pretty incredible. I can't believe
it's kind of sick.
You're telling me there's another summoning mechanic after this? Like they innovated.
We save that for another day, Raren. We save that for another day. I will let you know. It is honestly, it's probably the easiest out of all of them, if I'm being honest with you. They definitely took a step back.
That's nice. Okay. Dude, I'm fucking, oh my God. Okay, cool.
Is your brain hurt?
No, I'm okay. I think at the start,
I think you did pretty good for what it's worth. I think you did okay. Like you understand the mechanic pretty well.
I think at the beginning, as you know, like the loading fucking wheel on your computer. Like I think I was doing that phase for a little bit there, just to understand it. Because like I feel like when I showed you the Starship mechanic from like my video, the StarCraft one, I feel like you almost kind of go through the same thing where it's like if you saw it, I feel like it's so much easier to understand. But like describing the mechanic, it's actually really funny. I was talking to one of the designers in Hearthstone. He said like it's really interesting to hear you try to describe a mechanic without showing it. Something along the lines of like, that's probably one of the hardest jobs is like going to part of his job, is going to interviews and try to explain what the new mechanic is so everyone can understand it. So like doing this, like, and I can understand it. You obviously did a very good job, but I feel like like I said before, if you're doing this in real life and it's like 2015, they just introduced this, I'd be so frustrated. Like, this would be so miserable.
They even released a video showing like how to pendulum summon, and
That's
everyone
good.
was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, even with the video, people were perplexed.
I mean, again, if you're breaking the traditional mold, it hurts your brain, right? Like it has to.
Yeah.
That's the hardest job about being a designer, is making something intuitive but also interesting, right?
Absolutely.
So
I agree. And this was neither of those. So. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for another video. I really hope you all enjoyed. Let's go ahead and shout the patrons for all their continued support. So shouts to Shout1317, Tim00x3, MBT Play Medolce, Moto, Cameron L. Smith, The Synchro Guy, Pony Stark, Dan the Man Hoban, Little Fadeleaf, Draconic, Brian Dancer of Class 7, Dylan Rare Hunter, JW11860, Flannel Daddy, literally all of the guinea pigs, Cheeks McLapperty, Stolfin Amethyst, MBT canceled by community soon, canceled by all committees soon, canceled by all players soon, Wonder Waffle, MBT and Nimnims 1, Boxer Brief, Fueled Knight of Passion, Daniel Howell, Electrician of the Ice Barrier, Arco, and the Nova 129. Thank you again so much for watching, and we will see you next time.